Hello, it's that time of the year again when we're going to try and mix our dyes to match the color of the year by Pantone. This year we have Peach Fuzz. I have a sample from Pantone Institute here, and I can tell you that it's quite a pleasant baby peach color, if I can say it. Quite pale and feels like it's with a touch of pink. So I'm going to try and mix this color using Jacquard Procion dyes. These are normally the dyes that I use for dyeing my fabrics. And see how we can get on. So this sample is cotton. I have got several different cottons here of different weights and textures. So this is cotton organdy, cotton loam, and just some cotton fabric, which is a slightly thicker weight than the previous two. All of them are cotton, however the basic start color is slightly different, so the middle one is a bit creamier. That might also affect the result, might not in this case, but the color is really quite delicate, so all the factors might be will have to be taken into account and might affect the final result. Moreover, if you're going to be playing with other fibers like silk or rayon or wool, you know, the ones that we can dye using these dyes, you will have to potentially adjust the formula slightly, but it should be really close to the color that we're mixing now if you use the same dye. If you really have to match to the T, then perhaps a bit of tweaking will be necessary. Also make sure that to assess the color once the sample has dried, so I'm going to try and dye these samples, then let them dry, and then we see again what we have. So how to start matching, you know, mixing the dyes to match? What I do is that normally I go online and have a look at the palette of colors by Jacquard. They have all the colors there. This will give you an idea where to start with mixing, because they have the colors there, but you have to understand that obviously the colors on your computer screen or phone will not be a true representation of the actual color in the jar. So it's just a starting point. For this particular color, a good starting point seems to be peach color. They have several different peaches, oranges. Peach is perhaps the closest, but we will obviously have to be adding some other colors to it. Here I have got some that I think might be useful. Bubblegum is a very pale pink, very, very pale. I also have Ecru, which is a very pale beige, kind of ivory color. These two are very pale, so potentially I'll have to add quite a bit to change the formula. So that's why I also got Magenta, which is a very intense pink. If I'm going to use that, I only need a tiny amount, not to move my color into the pink area. Also, I have got golden yellow, which might have helped me balance out my magenta or pinks if they are too prominent in the formula. So let's cut several samples up. I'm just gonna do several of each fabric. You can write a temp number here or the fabric if you need to remember it. My fabrics are all different looks and weights. I don't have to write on them what they are. I know anyway. I might write the number of attempt if I need to, but maybe not. So I'm going to prepare several here. 3 of each, let's say. We might not need as many. Okay, and we can start by putting a bit of water in my bowl. I can do 10 mils. And I'll start with the peach, and I'll see how close it is to the color that I want. From the start, it looks quite intense, a bit too orangey, I would say, but let's see. I'm going to add quite a bit. Well, I'm adding tiny quantities, just building the color as I go. You can always dilute by adding a bit more water. So I have a white piece of paper here just as a guidance. Obviously this is not going to really tell me what my color is going to be on the fabric, but at least it gives some ideas. So I don't know if you can see it. It looks, actually on the paper, it looks quite pink as well, and orange. So what I'm going to do, it's kind of close, but not close. So well, I'm going to add some yellow to it, golden yellow. There is another yellow in the range, which is lemon yellow, but it feels like I want orange yellow here. So I'm just going to add a little bit. Yeah, immediately it's actually better and quite close. Let me also add a little bit of bubble gum, this pale pink. Don't want too much pink, but I want to add a little bit as the color kind of looks with a touch of pink in it. It hasn't changed it much. Also, to neutralize it a little bit, to kind of make it a bit more beige, I'm going to add a bit of this ecru, which is also super pale. Make sure you, if you work with dry dyes, make sure you dilute them really well. Right, so again, don't be judging by the color in the pot. It's not really what you're going to be getting. I'm going to go ahead and try this dye on my samples, on my cotton. So I'm going to wet it first thoroughly. My fabrics are all stiffened, so they are a bit stiff and need a bit of extra persuasion to get wet. And then I'm just gonna plonk it here. Kind of looks very similar, but it's brighter. So again, don't judge by the brightness, because you can always make it pale by adding more water. And also the wet sample will look brighter than the dry. This is cotton organdy, and I'm going to try my dense cotton sample as well. So here are the colors. They are looking a bit brighter and orangier, like this. So what I can do, I can wait until they're completely dry and then see what I need to change in my formula. If I can decide now, if I can, if I'm sure what I can do now to change it, I can go ahead and tweak it without waiting for it to dry. All the samples look very, very similar. Obviously the density of fabric will also be a factor. So you can see the organdy is quite transparent, more lightweight, more paler color. The denser cotton is looking the densest. They're more concentrated. So let me see if adding a bit more yellow will change my formula to the desired color. They're not too far off, but feels like not quite. Bit more pastel is the color from Pantone. Okay, this is looking a bit better, I think. Let's see, I might add a tiny bit more water. If you can document your formula, try and do that, because you might want to use this color a number of times in 2024. Okay, I think it's looking less orange. I'm going to add a tiny bit more ecru. Don't know if it does much, but it has a bit of blue in it, so which makes it beige, taking that orangeness out a bit. Okay, so I can do the second attempt and see if I'm happy with that or not. Maybe then I will let the samples dry and assess them after drying to see if I need to change anything else. Right, so this is my medium weight cotton lawn. Okay, it's changed. This is organdy. And a thicker one. I'm giving it a bit of time for the dye to penetrate the fabric. Right, well, it's definitely less pink, more orange. Let's say here. So it is closer to this fabric, but I think it needs a little bit more tweaking towards kind of more beigey color, because it's quite it's more orange than my sample, I think, but it's probably closer now to my sample than the first lot. So I'm going to give it a minute, figuratively speaking, say 10 minutes for the samples to dry a little bit, and then see if they're going to become any closer to my Pantone sample, and if not, then I will tweak my formula another time, and hopefully my last 3 samples are going to be a success, and I will have my formula for dyeing. See you in a minute. I've given my samples a bit of time to dry. They're nearly dry, and some are actually the more lightweight fabric. So you can see this was the first attempt, this is the second, this is my sample. So it's actually pretty close, especially the lightweight organdy and the medium weight lawn cotton. So I'd say really close. This one is a little bit darker, but it's still a little bit wet, and also it's a denser fabric, so perhaps if you dye a denser fabric, you could use less dye in it, or just apply fewer coatings in case if you want to get a better match. I'm gonna try and add a little bit more of ecru into my formula to see whether that's gonna be bringing my color even closer, like 100% match if that's possible. But this is already quite close. Once they've dried, they actually seem to be closer to the sample from Pantone. So this ecru, it has a bit of blue in it, so it's supposed to be kind of very light beige, or more like ivory color. So it's kind of taking the edge a little bit from my orange, softens it up. I could try and perhaps add a tiny touch of blue, but I have to be careful just a tiny bit, because otherwise it will change the whole thing. So maybe just see. Ice blue here. I mean, there's lots of blues in the Jacquard palette. I might just try and add a tiny bit of quite pale blue. To see if it gives me something. Just a tiny amount, and then I'm going to do my samples again, and hopefully it will be very close. Like, there's no point trying to probably see it on paper because the paper does not give all the nuances of color at this point. It looks okay, but it might not be okay when I dye my fabrics. Just gonna add a little bit more water, mix it one more time, and do my samples again. So this is medium. Difficult to say at this point in time. Looks quite similar to the previous attempt, but when they dry they do change a bit as well. So I'm going to not decide anything now, but give them again some minutes to dry, and then I'm going to come back and assess my colors, and I'm hoping it will be a slightly closer match than the previous attempt, which is this Peach Fuzz color. Let's see in a minute. Okay, so my samples have dried nearly. The thick one is still a tiny bit wet, but I think I'm happy with the match. You can make it a bit more intense if you want, in terms of applying, you know, more dye. You can also try and dry your fabrics on the, on some non-porous surface like plastic. That will also retain the dye inside the fabric, and the color will be more even, more prominent. So that's another way of achieving, you know, a slightly different color or a more even color if it's, for example, fabrics like satin and it's important. But anyway, these were our attempts. The third one is this last one, and it's pretty close to this kind of peachy, soft, very soft peach color that Pantone is offering us as the color of the year for 2024. When mixing, try and use daylight time. It's quite difficult in winter because days are really short, and right now I've already had to turn on my lamp because there's not enough daytime light for me to show you the colors. They will look slightly different in the artificial light. The natural light is always better, so when setting out to mix your dyes, do it in the morning is my advice. So anyway, I hope you're going to find this video useful. If you have different dyes to start with, you might need to, you know, tweak the formula a little bit to suit what you have, but start with some orange based dye, whether it's peach like mine, or there are some other oranges in this manufacturer's palette, or whichever other dye you're using. So start with a basic orange and then add perhaps a bit of pink, a bit of blue to make it a bit more beigey. So see what works, and you know, do a couple of samples, and always use the fabrics that you're actually planning to dye, because as I said, a lot depends on the fiber that you're dyeing, whether it's cotton, silk, rayon, wool perhaps, or also on the texture of the fabric, the density of it. It will all have a play in the result, and if it's important for you to be as close to the Pantone sample, you have to take it all into account. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and we see you soon with some more flower making video tutorials and courses. Bye for now. Bye.